Today is Friday, February 17th, 2012, and I'm in Glenpool, Oklahoma, interviewing Jon Mark Tiger at the Tulsa Indian Arts Festival, where you just won first place in graphics. Jon, you're a graduate of the Institute of American Indian Art. Your fine use of line has made you a presence in Native art for many years. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Well, thank you for interviewing me and being part of your program.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Tallahena Indian Hospital in Tallahena, Oklahoma, June 17, 1954. And my mother is Harriet Scott Tiger, and my dad is Yehola Tiger Sr. And grew up in Eufaula in McIntosh County.
Are you both Creek and Seminole? Or?
We're full-blood Creek. My mother is full-blood and my dad was full-blood. My grandparents raised me actually when I was 3 or 4 years old. I think I have 10 or 11 siblings, and we had a big family. And so my grandfather retired from the post office in '57, and I remember going back out to the house with him, staying with him ever since I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Now they're on your mom's side? Or?
My mother's side, yes. Maternal side, yes. And we grew up in an area called Artesia area, southwest of Eufaula. And Artesia is was a church. There's a Baptist church out there, as it is. And but Artesia was an old tribal town name too in the Creek Nation.
So was Muskogee your first language?
No, English was my first language actually, but Muskogee was spoken in the home. And the thing about that is my grandfather is Kwarsati, and my grandmother was from the Ejidi line or language. And sometimes they spoke two separate languages, describing objects, for instance. And, she would say, for star, she would say Kalaswa. And he would say, the Kwarsati way was Kostajumbi. So it was like that.
Yeah. What is your first memory of doing art?
Probably when I was about 4 or 5 at home. I didn't even go to school yet. And my grandmother's house, my grandparents' house, it was an old clapboard house, very thin walls. It was cold in the wintertime. And of course, we had a log stove, wood stove, and but she would make me stay on the bed most of the day, especially with the snow on the ground. She didn't want me to go outside because in her day she's seen a lot of sickness. You know, there was no clinics or doctors too much around to take care of influenza even in the day, and so she was very precautionary about my getting out in the elements, you know, as much as possible as I could, because we didn't have a car to go to a doctor if we needed to go, and if we did have a car to break down, there's some things like that happen. But I'd sit on the bed and draw on the wall, and our wall was covered with cardboard, and it was just broken down boxes of large appliances. You spread them out and then you nail them on the wall, and that was our wallpaper, I guess, our decoration. And anyway, my grandmother was the one that encouraged me, because I would sit on the wall, and I knew airplanes would come over the house every now and then, so I started drawing a picture of airplane. And then we had dogs and chickens and pigs. I try to draw the animals, and just simple things. And then she encouraged me though, since that day, during that time, I was encouraged by my grandmother to continue art. And she'd always said, take care of your hands. And so, yeah, I tried to, I did. I played sports, but she would never let me box. My brothers were boxers, my older brother, Ben, and Yehola Jr. and George Mitchell and Norman, they all boxed. But I lived out in a rural area. I didn't get to come to town too often at all. So anyway, but I did sneak a couple of sparring rounds in the local gym.
But she was trying to protect your hands there.
Yes.
Did you have any other family members who were artistically inclined?
Yes. Let me see. In the home, well, my grandfather, his penmanship was really outstanding, and we still have ledger books at home with his handwriting in it. Mm. And he do that real wavy penmanship, real wavy. That's really, really nice.
A lost art.
And then he, and also my uncle, his son Chester Scott. He's an award-winning artist back in the 60s and 70s, and especially with the Five Tribes. Of course, Jerome and Jon Tiger and Danny Tiger, they're our cousins on our mother's side. My mother is a cousin to Lucinda Tiger, which is Jerome's mother. Jerome's mother is my grandfather's sister. And Jerome's daddy was a Seminole Tiger. Mm-hmm. And my dad's a Creek Tiger, but we're related on the mother's side, through the Lewis side, actually. But anyway, and then also we have Kenneth Scott, Nagofty Scott, Shell Carver, metal worker. His dad, Kenneth, he designed the Haskell logo at Haskell Indian College in Lawrence, Kansas. And he's even given me the original logo of that school, and he was paid $1 in, I think it was 1939, and they adopted that seal.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Did Jerome ever see any of your art, or did you see any of his art?
Yeah, I've seen his work. We were at, we all went to school at, we all went to church at West Eufaula. And we were, of course, running around in the school churchyard, and Jerome would be sitting in his car, and he'd be sketching. And I'd kind of sneak up there and look at it, see what he was drawing. And he was sketching away with the door open. He was just sitting in there sketching away, and it was a picture of a naked woman, like Playboy type figure and body. And this had to be I bet this had to be 1961 maybe. And he said, he seen me. He said, "Do you like to draw?" I said, "Yeah, I like to draw," but I was too shy. He said, "Draw me something." So I'd run off. I didn't, I was just that way, real shy. Yeah. And of course, we were all pretty well artistic in our ways. Mm-hmm. Johnny Hawk, I don't know, Jonathan Scott, he's our relative too on my grandfather's side. Yeah, we've got quite a few artists in our family.
You do. So you went to Sequoia. Did you go to public school at all?
I went to Eufaula Public School all the way up to the 10th grade. And
did you have any exposure to art?
No, they did not have any art classes at all. In fact, I kind of got in trouble a lot drawing in my books and study hall and sent to the principal's office. But played football in high school at Eufaula and with the Salmon brothers. They were on Dewey Salmon, and they're always good friends, and we played on the same team and everything. And they did not have art class at all, and you follow it. And I said, and I knew my brother George had went to Sequoia, and he said, yeah, they have art class at Sequoia. So I transferred to, well, actually I went out to Santa Fe when I was 16 years old. And,
Right after graduating
yeah,
high school?
No.
Or while you're still in high school?
I was actually in the
senior.
11th grade.
Oh.
I was in the 11th grade, and my grandfather said there's a school out there in New Mexico that you should go to check out. It's for Indian kids with skills. So I got enrolled in, with the help of the Bureau of Indian Affairs in Muskogee. They got me a ticket and bought me and gave me $80 to get a coat. Well, that's what I bought there, with $80 with a coat, because I didn't have a coat. And they said it snows out there, so that's what I did. And went out there for a little while, and Otella Lolema was my high school painting teacher. She was, I believe she was Hopi.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to know Alan Hauser. He was on campus, and he was teaching the older ones sculpting with the gigantic alabaster stones. And then I was in his class, pottery class, and I just sat down at the table, and he says, he just gives me a stone. He said, here, make something out of it. So I look at it, and it's a soapstone, and I guess it's what they start you off on, because it's the softest stone that you can, and it's easy to work with. So it kind of helped me to get form going. And I looked at it, and it's a duck. So I carved into it. That's all, maybe a duck, sleeping duck. And I still have it to this day, the soapstone duck. And then Miss Lola, when she came in for the clay class, the pottery class, she helped him along the way in that class. I did 2 masks in there.
Two sculpted masks or pottery masks? A
pottery mask, and then 1 bowl. And I've still got the bowl. Well, my mother's got the bowl at her house, but I still got the 2 masks and the sleeping duck.
So you get to kind of experiment with a variety of media. How did you decide? You didn't want to do sculpture, for example? You wanted to.
Well, I like sculpture, but it wasn't always the media where I come from. Pencil and paper was the quickest thing to what I wanted to get after. And pencil and paper was the only thing I really knew. And painting classes out there were always filled up. This is 1971. Well, my grandfather got sick around the Thanksgiving weekend. I came home, and he didn't have too long to live.
Was this your first semester?
Yes, first semester, and I told the school, I called back out there, so I think I'm going to stay. And roll back in Eufaula again for a little while, and he died in May of 72, and died of prostate cancer at home. And my brother George was going to school in Sequoia, ended school at Tahlequah, graduating that day that he died. And so we had to go tell him. My brother-in-law, Ira Colley Jr., and I went to Sequoia to tell my brother we'd bring him home, with the family. So, but anyway, my brother was telling me that they do have an art class there at Sequoia, and that interests me right there. I said, well, that sounds really good. I'm kind of interested in that.
Hey, were you thinking of yourself as an artist?
Yes.
How early did you start thinking of yourself?
In high school, well, about that same time, 9th grade, probably, 8th or 9th. Everybody in my class always wanted me to draw something, this and that, or even did a Ironhead mascot one time. My football coach, I believe, I think it was him, he gave me a 8x4 feet plywood, and I took it home and laid it on my mother's It's like a box. It's got a bunch of clothes in it.
Just one of those.
I laid it on that, and they let me go out of school at 1 o'clock because I had to catch a bus at 3:30 to go home. I went back out to my grandmother's house, but I worked on it down there, and it was what they was going to do is cut it out and put it in the homecoming float each year, and it was just the Ironhead man, looked like a Trojan type, and that was my assignment. And of course, I left Eufaula and went entered the Sequoia Indian School my junior year, and I did my junior year there and my senior year there, and graduated at Sequoia in '73.
So who was teaching art there at the time? What did you get?
His name was Riley White.
Art classes.
Riley White at Sequoia. And I didn't really learn a lot from him, but he showed me how to cut mat. The just basic tools, sharp X-Acto knife, and just a steady hand and a ruler if you need to use it. And he showed me a little bit of color combination that way.
For painting.
Painting,
you got a little bit
and
of...
appreciate this, goes with this color, and the least amount of color should appear in your mat somewhere in color. And sometimes, it works like that. And I'd say I didn't, that's not right to say that, but I did, I guess I learned patience in his class, I'll put it that way.
And did you continue doing art outside of class? When did you sell your first piece of artwork?
Well, we had a fine arts class, a fine arts festival at the school, which was put on by the Muskogee area BIA, as I can remember. And we had the fine arts festival at the Sequoia, that all like Carter Seminary, Jones Academy. I can't remember all the schools that were involved, but they all sent their pieces down.
It was a competition.
Yeah, and I got the grand award in '72 and '73.
For a painting?
Yeah, for a painting. It was lady pounding corn, what it was. Yeah, and to get back to Santa Fe now, I graduated out of Sequoia in '73. And I knew I was going to go back to Santa Fe, so went back out there in the fall of '73. Couldn't get no painting classes out there. So I went to the painting room, the studio room, and a lot of Navajos down there painting, and they were really nice, really outstanding work. A lot of oils and a lot of acrylics. But the styles were different to me. Navajos did a lot of the desert looking sky, big, landscape, whereas a lot of the other tribes did more real bright color, acrylic on canvas. And so what I did is each evening I would go down to the studio and grab a color and bring it back to my room. I didn't take the best tube or the best jar, just the one that's been used.
Right.
So, and then, I'd smuggle my material back into my room and work in my room.
Wow.
And worked in my room.
Would you show each other, or would you show some of your classmates what you've done?
No, it wasn't like that at all, because we were housed in it's actually old Army barracks in World War II, and each one had the room, and some two to a room, not everybody is called a single to a room, but I didn't show much of my work out there, but I did bring it home with me and give it to my mom when I got back after school was out.
So you were kind of teaching yourself
Yes.
the basics of painting.
Mm-hmm. And I'd ask questions and study people's work and what they were doing, how they were approaching this and that. And I remember in high school now at Miss Lowell, when I did my first canvas, it was a man's face, and he was wearing a necklace. In the background, I started on the background, and I put it on real thick, and she got angry at me.
Was it oil?
It was oil. She says, no, 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 no. That's too much, too much. She got a rag and just wiped the whole thing like that.
Oh.
Okay. So you start off slow and you'll go thin and lay your colors out first and then you go into it. So that's how you learn, you know. So that's how I learned.
Right.
Trial and error, and I'm glad she taught me a lot, really.
Now you basically at some point got more into acrylics, right?
Acrylics was introduced to me at Santa Fe.
Okay.
Because a lot of my friends were on the big canvases, and the colors seemed to be brighter. It didn't take very long to dry. You could paint over it, tape it down. A lot of symbolism out there and a lot of abstract artwork at that time.
Were you at all interested in that?
No, it didn't really touch on me that much. Color was really is what I got out of it. Color, just the different colors I've seen of the blues and the reds. What color can go with what other color, and just seeing a lot of other styles of other people from different parts of the country amazed me a lot. But acrylic is one of my favorites now, you know, because it dries faster and I've learned to work with it pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Did you consider staying in Santa Fe?
No, not really. In '61, there was nothing to it. You could walk downtown, you wouldn't hardly see a car go by. It's not what it is now.
Right.
I could walk all the way down to the plaza, look around, walk through the galleries, and walk back to school just to burn time, you know, till supper time, you know.
Right.
And then, but it's a whole different. You just have to appreciate the desert. I like rain and grass too much, I guess.
Green trees.
Yes.
Was Philbrick Annual going on at all when you started painting?
Yes, but I wasn't really invited or notified of those shows. It seemed like my cousins, Jerome and Johnny and Chester, the older ones were invited to that one, yeah, and I was just growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I did my first show in 1971 though at I think it was the South Roads Mall.
Okay.
And they had a show over there with, and I remember Fred Beaver being there, Bert Seaborn, David Williams, and there might have been a couple of other people I don't remember right now, but David Williams really took to my work. I mean, and Fred Beaver was a really close friend to our family because he's from Eufaula also. Mm-hmm. So he knew my grandparents real close. He was an inspiration too. But David Williams was, I got to know him through my brother-in-law, who's Kyle also. And got to know him and look at his work, study, and ask questions about, you know, why is this and why is that.
Were you doing, at the mall show, did you have kind of equal, did you have some Muskogee images and some Plains images? Did you have Plains images?
Mostly they were pencil drawings, what I had. Mm-hmm. And
just
they were mostly,
portraits?
Yeah, they were mostly, seemed like they were just human faces and then a few wildlife animals. And the thing about that time is I just drew out of my head, you know, what I could remember. Mm-hmm. This is what it looks like. And only had maybe 6 or 7 pieces on a 2-day show. And I got 4th place.
That's wonderful.
And, I was the youngest one there. I was like 17 years old, I think. And my aunt, Ruby Scott, the Chester's wife, she encouraged me to go to that one. She said, we'll take you up there every day if you want to go show your work. So we did.
You made the trip back and forth every day. Wow.
And I'd sell something and I'd go buy me a box of model planes or something, you know, hobby shop down in the mall, you know, or a car, you know, just a model car assembly, you know.
So did you start doing booth shows as you could at the malls?
No, that was just a one-time deal.
Okay.
And of course, I did the high school show at Five Tribes Museum. 72, 73, 74, 76, you know, and I started getting it at the museum show. And of course, I won grand award at the Five Tribes in high school.
Wow.
And got my picture on the Muskogee Phoenix.
Yeah.
That really,
So that's a big award.
that was a big award for me, just
at
seeing
that
my
age.
mug on the newspaper like that. But
Was it a pencil drawing or was it?
it was
a painting?
it was a painting. It was a water. Actually, there was two paintings I entered, and they were both watercolor. One of them was called Creek Homestead, and as far as I know, they still have it in their collection. Creek Homestead, and it just depicts an old log cabin in the background, a lady pounding corn up front, and a man. He's making ball sticks, and he's weaving and under a tree, and then you'll have your chickens there, and you have a cornfield on the side, and then the other one was called Two Worlds, and Two Worlds was that's probably about a 16 by 8. It was divided right down the middle. There was a face in the middle with a line down the middle of it. On this side was the city. It was you see the cityscape, airplane, and on the other side was the natural world, trees, and you know, like that. Teepee, I think I put it in there too. And I think they still have that at the Five Tribes in their permanent collection. I'd like to see them again since I haven't seen them in years.
So did you get with a couple of galleries later on as you got into your mid-20s?
No, I didn't. They didn't do any galleries. And my problem was, well, you gotta have a phone for one thing. And then you gotta have a car or another thing. I hitchhiked everywhere, and I did, and went to a lot of places on my feet, and never really getting no galleries. I didn't really start getting into the art till I went to the University of Science and Arts in Chickasha.
Oh, okay.
And
What year was that?
76 or 77. And then I transferred to the Okmulgee Tech in Okmulgee and took commercial art there for a little while. And then took up odd jobs, started working here and there, and then, but I did paint on the side, nothing real permanent. Just it's like I like to do that, and I felt the need to do that. I guess just trying to stay busy. I guess a lot of the times I just didn't really wasn't that I'll say I wasn't real out to make a lot of money or make any money at all. It's just something I like to do. And people were noticing it though, and they liked it. And when they started buying my work, and it started kind of building up from there, and then I started buying equipment. My first table was my bed in high school, or junior high and high school. And that's the one that Five Tribe has now on their permanent display. I painted on my bed. The chair here, my bed was my table. That was it. About the Santa Fe deal now. After high school, I went back out to Santa Fe. And I'll tell you, I did not graduate there. And some things happened out there. And I wanted to go back after I got out the first year. They told me not to come back. And as far as I could see, it was political, because friend of mine, he was from Alaska, very talented man. He not used to the modern technology. Somebody had left TV on in the TV room all night long, and he stayed 3 doors down. He was tired of it. He got up in the middle of the night. There was nobody watching that TV and it was going on. He was tired of it, and he went out there and grabbed that TV and yanked it out and threw it out that window. He threw that TV out the window, and he went on back to his room. Well, somebody claims that they seen him do it. And of course, a few days later went by and they were questioning who did it. And nobody knew, but somebody had pointed it to him, and he confessed that he did do it. He said, all I'm used to is radio, where I come from, and I don't like to hear this TV. They're not going to watch it, turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
He said, oh, I'll turn it off for you.
Yeah.
So during that time, he asked for support from some of his buddies, staff, whoever would help him, because he had to go to a hearing in Albuquerque at the BIA. And so we load up in the car and we go with him down to his meeting place, but they never called none of the other students in for support. And they just talked to him, and I guess they asked him what happened, and he told them, and he came back out and he had a plane ticket in his hand. So nothing was said. We get back in the van and drive back towards the school, and he said, well, they kicked me out. And he started giving his things away. And he started give away friends that he had. He gave a painting to one of them. He gave a basket to another he made. Some sketches he gave to just different ones. He gave me it was a snow owl, carved snow owl with claws coming out of it like that. And it's pretty heavy. And I still have it to this day. But he said, I can't carry this on a plane, so you can have it. So he gave it to me. And I think because of that incident, I think we were all able, I guess, after that.
We were kind of blacklisted
Yes.
for standing up for him.
Yeah, I think so.
I know that you've had to work then different jobs over the course of, I guess, starting in your 20s and 30s, but continuing to do the art. Did you get any good business advice? What was the best business advice you got from another artist? Because that's kind of the tricky part of it.
Probably about originals. And a lot of them say keep your originals. If you or don't show a lot of times you're going to make prints, and keep your originals if you want to. It's up to you. That was one of them, and another one is to just keep up with your inventory and don't let just the people you trust handle it for you if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let people run off with your goods. In other words, that belongs to you. And don't let them, print something in your name without your consent.
When did you pull your first prints?
Probably, the first ones I ever did was probably just offset, printing press.
Mm-hmm.
Did some sketches and.
Was it in Tulsa or?
It was. I worked in Chakota.
In Chakota.
At the newspaper office there.
Okay.
That's where I learned how to run offset press too, and a wet press too, on the job training.
So how old were you when you were working at Chakota?
This was 1980. I worked there from 1981 to 88.
Okay.
And worked with ink on my hands. It was kind of a journeyman thing.
Mm-hmm. But nice for an artist to be able to.
Yeah, I was doing that, and I was doing a dark room work. I was doing paste up. I did the mail. You know, tie and bundle and take them to the post office and load them on the truck, and they take them. You know, I did a lot of that. Guy from Tulsa World said I should have come to their own place, and I could have got on any four of them places.
You didn't do any cartoons for them, did you?
No, I didn't do anything
comics?
like that. No.
Yeah. How do you think the Indian art scene, so were you going to galleries at all? I'm wondering how the landscape or the Indian art scene looked to you in the 80s. What were the things you remember?
Probably those artists that were established. Those were the main people that I really watched or noticed or admired. Black Bear Bolson was one of the people that inspired me. And of course, Jerome, Fred Beaver, Oscar Howe. Some of the old timers, they inspired me a lot. But I didn't have a chance to go to a lot of galleries growing up, you know, because I didn't go to Tulsa very much. And when you're in the rural area, you know, you just don't have that opportunity or benefit to go anywhere. You know, you have to make do with what you have.
Right.
And where I live at is economically depressed, even to this day.
So you began working for the New Creek Nutrition Center down there in Eufaula in 1990?
I worked there, in August will be my 23rd year actually, come to think of it. And they needed a driver to take meals to the people in the rural area, to the elders in the rural area, the shut-ins and the single widow people. And I've been doing it, I guess, all this time, and they are also a inspiration to me.
Yeah, I was wondering how they impact your art. Have you ever?
Well, they're not all Creek people. There's some Cherokee, there's some Potawatomi, Choctaw, and they all have their own stories. And they like to talk, or at least they confide in me, and if they need something, they go through me to get it. And I try to listen to them, whatever they have to say, something to say. And I look at their house, and one man said, very decorated veteran. He's Choctaw man, he's 92 years old now, I think. And I talk about his growing up, you know, I think he likes to tell somebody, you know, something, and I talk to him. My only about that job is you'll see them and they'll go, you know, they'll pass away on you, you know, that happens a lot in my line of work. You know, you get to know them and everything, but it was, you know, it was the fact that, you know, you try to serve people and make them feel good. But there's one incident when I first started that job, kind of took me in the heart, because I didn't know the man had a garden behind his house. I didn't know it, and he was a new client on the route, and I went to take him food, and he's always sitting at the kitchen table through the screen door, and he says, "Come on in." He said, if I'm not here, just leave it on this table. I said, okay, that's fine, because, you know, sometimes I might be in the bathroom or doing something else. It takes a little longer to come to the door. And so I did, and I would go to his house, and he wasn't there, but the door was open. The meal was on there, so maybe he's all right, so I leave. Next day I come there, the meal's still there, the door's still open. I said, uh-oh. I said, I called his name, nobody answers. Well, his neighbor, she comes out, and she says, he's been laying in his garden for the past day and a half. We found him out there, he had a heart attack. And I did not know he had a garden behind that house. And I kind of felt bad because they had to hurry up and bury him. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of wrenching on you sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But he was an inspiration to me too. He'd always come to my grandmother's house when we were kids. And my grandmother always had fruit trees. She had an apple tree. And he liked her apples. He'd always come out there and get a pack of apples. He'd bring a nail and get a hammer and knock that nail in that tree. He said, this tree needs iron. They like iron. So he would run a nail in it every year. That thing would bloom for 20, 25 years. Longer than most apple trees last, really.
You know, I think there was a time when, I mean, it's still true today, that artists, you know, from the 5 tribes would often do more plains images because that's what people wanted and expected, and it was sometimes difficult to do, you know, Seminoles or Muskogee people. But it seems to me your work has always kind of balanced both of those. I don't know if that's so or not. Did you start out doing a little more imagery from plains tribes and then gradually come back around?
I did that. My interest, some of it grew out of Anadarko area because my aunt lived in Anadarko for many years.
Oh, did you all go out that way then?
She lived there. And so when my grandfather and my grandmother would go visit her, we'd go out there. After school was out, we'd travel. It's not like it took us forever to get out there.
Yeah, that's a good
Especially
ways.
with my grandfather driving, 40 miles an hour. We got out there. But you know, the Anadarko in the 60s, to me, you'd see the man with the braids, you know, and they would talk sign language across the street to each other like that. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then out there, that's where they had galleries that I like to walk into, because they did have galleries, you know, by the local artists that were painting and selling.
So you went into the McBride?
Well, yeah, I would look around
gallery,
in
for
them. I
example.
would look at them, and I noticed their paints were real bright. A lot of red and blues, blankets, scenes, peyote scenes, and horseback riding. Those things kind of stuck to me there, and then I just started doing some plains at first because of the features. I started drawing out of the history books. It was actually my own art course to myself.
From photographs.
From photographs out of magazines, you know, to get the face, wrinkles, the eyes, you know, the features. I'm pretty hard on myself when it comes to what I want to see. You know, if it's not right, I'll leave it alone, throw it in the closet, come back to it 3 or 4 days later and look at it again. You know, then I can see what I did wrong. You know.
Oh, you kind of let it rest in between.
Yeah, I just don't even look at it. And then come back and look at a different eye on a different day. That works for me. But I did start. But the creek imagery didn't come till a little later on because there was a lot of people that didn't understand it.
Maybe in the 90s.
The 90s, no, it started in the 70s, mid-70s.
Okay.
Like there were actually the early 70s, like the first. Like the one Creek Homestead, that was my major student art piece, and then that was intentional for people to see the creek side. You know, I didn't want to just show the plains, or you know, that's not. There's more to Oklahoma than just the Western Plains. You know, we're Eastern tribes, and we have our own ways and language and stories.
So your primary medium is still pretty much acrylic.
Pencil.
And pencil, okay. Have you, and you never did try your hand really at sculpture again? Too much?
No, that's just because I didn't go out of my way to find it. Or I did one piece at my mother's house on a stone I found on the side. I kept seeing on the side of the road after the grader graded up these stones. I kept seeing this certain stone on the side of the road. So I picked it up one day and I'm gonna throw it in the back seat of my station wagon. And it's shaped like a buffalo. It is. It's shaped like a buffalo, but it's square. It's just broken in that shape. So I get me a nail and a chisel and a hammer, and I start chiseling out this design. And it's a buffalo, you know. And my mother still has it in her house or around her house to this day. But that's about all, you know. Just homemade stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you do a lot of thumbnail sketches before you paint, or do you sketch directly on them? You use mainly board.
Both. I'll do some preliminary sketches, rough sketches. Some are real rough, and then some are just right to it. If I hit right on the button, I said, okay, I'm gonna just leave it like that, go with it like that. And some days are just, there's nothing there. It's still in my head from my head to my hand. You know, I'm still waiting for that to come out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now I've got stories right now that I need to bring out now. I'm getting back to my histories, my local history,
mm-hmm.
family stories. Let me tell you about one, and I want to do this. When I was growing up at home, we had a chicken house in the back of the house. And I got up out of bed early one morning, and I see my grandmother, she had a rag around her hand on this side. I look at it, and I see my grandpa over there, he's asleep, but he had a rag on his side of the hand. So I'm looking, and I asked my grandmother, I said, what'd you do to your hand? She said, we had to fight an owl last night. She said, you was already asleep, but we were laying in bed and I could hear a clucking of a chicken out there. And I didn't know whether there was a snake in there or what it was,
mm-hmm.
possum or something. But we went out there, and we took a lantern out to the chicken house. So the chicken house is only 5 feet high and maybe 6 feet deep. The chicken wire all around it. When I look up in there, she said, we had a lantern, looked in there, and there was an owl sitting right next to one of those hens on that one ledge. And it would gradually scoot over.
Whoa.
She said that when it gradually scoots over, it'll knock that hen off, hit the ground. When that hen hits the ground, that owl pounces on top of it. Mm-hmm. That's the only way they'll attack them,
mm-hmm.
kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So we were out there. We opened that door, and I think somebody says, grab it. Somebody grabbed it. And they put their hand like that, and the owl can see at night in the dark real good. But when they went like that owl went claws up in that hand, and he put his hand in there, and he claws in his hand like that. So that owl was like this, and they back, you know, the claws almost went through their hand, almost.
Yeah. Oh.
And they backed out like that. And she was holding the lantern. She said, twist his head, twist his head. And my grandpa said he was twisting the owl's head, but it kept going round and round and round.
Oh.
So they finally went up there and got an axe. Had to go get an axe and just cut that owl's head off. And so next day I went out there my job was to gather the eggs. That's my job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll go out there to the chicken house and I look in the weeds, and there's an owl's head looking right at me.
Oh man, oh that's a story that needs to be painted for sure.
I'm gonna do something like that. If not for anybody, it's just for our family.
Yeah.
It's a family story, really.
Yeah. Do you work from photographs now a little bit more? Do you ever pose, family members and take a photo so you have a particular pose that you can draw, or is it mostly from your head?
It's mostly from my head. I have a big family, a lot of nieces and nephews, and can't keep up with all of them. But I try to. Some of that appears in my art, their face,
mm-hmm.
their image.
But it's just you're drawing from memory at that point.
Yes, and the one painting I have is called Omen. And it started out to be a Trail of Tears picture. And it's actually 2 stories, but it started out to be Trail of Tears. The lady in the front, she's in a pink blanket. She's looking at, she's going forward. She's in the lead. But she came out just looking just like my grandmother did. You know, and that, you know, it just came out like that. So I just leave it like that. And it came out real well. Looks like her. And I put the owl in the tree though next to it because that's another story that relates to my grandmother when she passed away. In my tribe, you know, in the Creek Muscogee tribe, owl is always a messenger of death or something in that way, you know, sickness. And so we just got to have a prayer meeting for her, and everybody left, and me and her was the only one at the house, and she was in the bed. And I went to get her a drink of water. And when I went down the hallway, the owl was right at the door. It just hooted real loud. We heard it. I heard it, she heard it. And so I take the glass of water back to her. She drank it. She said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "Yes." And nothing more was said. So that, the whole thing kind of went together in that. You know, that's why I call it Omen.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that category because I was going to ask you if did you win the Trail of Tears category at any point?
I won Trail of Tears category last year, I believe. On a piece called Broken Spirits. And it was a miniature, actually, pencil miniature.
Yes.
It's a small
Wow.
3x4 was image size, regulation anyway, so I did that and won.
That's great.
There.
And you know, I've noticed like you've always had this kind of medium-sized format, but it seems to me you're doing more miniatures now, which is kind of the reverse of most artists who might
I don't like to waste paper. That's why I do a lot of bookmarks.
Your eyes are still good.
Yes. I try to, with the help of eyeglass and some magnifying glass too. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't like to waste paper. I don't, if I can help it.
Right. Do you have to keep track of your ideas in a notebook, or do you just carry it in your head?
No, I just carry it in my head, and sometimes it comes on the art itself. Sometimes, you know. And getting back to the Plains Indian themes, a lot of that has to do with my in-laws too. My family is married into the Cheyenne Arapahoes and the Kiowas, Comanches, Winnebagos, you know, we're just all over.
So when you're doing an image like that, then that's your research is through family members? It
can be, yeah. I ask them questions if there's, you know, something related to the Creek tribe, you know, in some way or another. Another one, see, I like to do a lot of history too.
Oh, you like to read history?
Yes, I like history, I like stories. And I'm still wanting to do one when the Lakotas came to Okmulgee one time. Did you know that? They came to Okmulgee, the Creek Nation. The Sioux were having a hard time where they were at. And they offered Spotted, I think it was Spotted Tail Chief, for a land base here around Okmulgee. They told them, said, "We'll give you some land down here if y'all want to come here." They were being persecuted up that way. So his band comes down here, stays a little while, looks around, and he says that your country's very nice, but we want to go back home. And I don't know who has the photographs of that visit, but there are some available somewhere of Spotted Tail and his group coming visiting. And they went to Dripping Springs and went out to the springs, and you know, they just made a visit all the way around, but they said it's too hot down here for one thing. It's humid. She said we want to go back up north where it's cool. So those are stories I'd like to show sometime.
Yeah, those lesser known, the ones that aren't as well known. Okay, so factoring in for when you're not at at work. What's your creative routine? Is it kind of a weekend thing, or does it depend when?
It's always, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking and seeing, feeling. People tell me stories, and I visualize them. You know, I can sit there and just see it. And they're just always with me. And I'm always ready to create whatever, but it's just sitting down doing it. My best time is probably in the late afternoon and evening.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to paint at late at night, but I can't always stay up anymore. But I do what I can, you know, and I need to rest my head every now and then, you know, to take it easy and replenish my thoughts.
Right.
I'm up early in the morning, though. I can do a lot of the things, you know, before 7 sometimes.
Ah.
Yeah. Another trick is to fast when before you paint, or when you're ready to paint. Don't even eat nothing all day long. Just paint. And things seem to come clear for me when I do that. You know, and it's just sometimes part of my practice to fast.
Mm-hmm. Have you done any workshops with young people?
I want to start doing that. I thought about it for longer than I should. We have a lot of talented young kids in the Eufaula area, and they are really creative painters. There's some kids that would like to write. I'm not really in touch with what the high school is doing or what the local school is doing here for the kids, you know, but they have been introduced to the different mediums, I know. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to take it a little bit further for them, take it out of the classroom and bring that out to the end of the world, I guess you might say, because we're in an age where we don't have. I was fortunate enough to grow up with grandparents. I'm an elder. My grandparents were born in 1898, and so they could tell me things that happened all the years ago, but you don't have that anymore. So now I'm the grandparent, but I would rather pass it on to the younger ones, and the stories that I know, because they could be doing the same thing because they're in their young life, because they're going to be facing a lot of things in their life. And to record this through art is one of the better mediums, I think, without showing it on film. But you know, you can do it through art, and you know, there's a story that'll come out of it. And that's what I do with my art right now. I put stories behind the back of my prints because people don't understand what I'm painting sometimes, or they don't understand the Indian side of it, so they appreciate that. And I'm sure the kids would like to have a workshop or something to work with. That's what I want to do with them here when school break comes up in March. That's my plan. If I even get about 3 or 4, you know, that's a start.
That's great.
If I'm going to leave anything, that's going to be that, you know, for them.
Well, looking back over your career so far, what is kind of a pivotal moment when you might have like gone down one road, but you took another?
Negative stuff?
Or positive, whatever.
Well, yeah, I've been through my negative years and had my wild times. I think everybody kind of goes through that, but I'm fortunate to be sitting here talking about it, which is a lot of my friends are no longer with us, but I think in 1985, I didn't do anything. I don't think you'll find a piece of work I've done in 85 because I was so disoriented, I guess you might say. I kind of lost my way. I almost lost my gift. It's a gift from God that was given to me. And then I later realized that's what, you know, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And I almost lost it, and it took me about almost a year sit down and start sketching something, and I started getting my feeling back. And I realized to myself, I says, not everybody can do this drawing. Nobody can just sit down and draw. They wish they could, but they can't. And I was in that area where, I can just sit and draw something now. But then I realized, I said, this is a gift, and I'm surely messing up. I'm really messing up. I'm not going to use this. If I don't straighten up, fly right, and if anything, I could show somebody else how to do art or how to see things and how to appreciate creativity in one way or the other. So yeah, that was probably my downtime. Really, it was a really bad time for me.
What's been one of the high points of your career?
Probably now, I think, because it seems to get better. People seem to appreciate Native American art anyway, and you can't please everybody, and everybody has their own styles. That's one thing that I see now in a lot of these shows. And I hate to be a judge, but there's a lot of different styles. Some pieces don't get selected, and I think they should have, but I'm not the judge. But now I think it's pretty exciting, it's pretty good. I like it. See people create things, and it inspires me also.
So besides sharing technical things with a young person, what would you tell a young person who wanted to get into Native art, doing Native art today?
I tell them to know their history and who they are, ask questions. If you have an elder in your house, in your family, to ask questions. Why is this and why is that? If you can't find somebody that will tell you, we have elders out there that need to be reached out to. They think they are useless sometimes, and I don't want them to feel that way, and that's why I try to get the young and the old together. If they can just spend a little time together, because some of these young ones that have never been around an elder person at all, and a lot of them are in nursing homes. But I just say, encourage them to draw and paint, whatever they can if they have it. Study their history, and you get educated that way also.
Is there anything that we've forgotten to talk about that you'd like to discuss?
Probably think about it tonight, and I'll let you know.
Well, let's take a look at some of your artwork then.
All right. This is titled Grandma's Kitchen, and it's depicting three ladies in food preparation. And what we have here is a lady, she's stirring a pot with, might be soft or corn soup in it. The lady in the middle is pounding corn in the wooden mortar. We call it kitcho or kijabi. And on the lady on the end, she's sifting the corn in the sifting basket. And of course you have your log cabin in the back, and your brush arbor out here. In the summertime or the warm season, they used to cook outdoors a lot. It's just that was where the kitchen was at, actually. Eat outdoors. This is all done in graphite pencil. And I have two birds, two scissor-tail birds up here, the state birds. And you always hear them around my house in the summer times.
And those clouds are coming up too.
Yeah,
it
clouds
looks
are coming
like
up,
a good old
and,
thunderstorm,
that's
maybe.
a good sign of rain. We need rain all the time. And when it's been really hot in the summer, you always like to have a little shade and clouds and a little rain.
Right. And that was your first place piece.
The pot here is kind of tilted because that's the way my grandmother used her pot, she wouldn't lay it flat. She would lean it a little bit. That way she could put her spoon in there better and stir things, at a direct angle. That's why it's tilted looking a little bit. And of course, she could be holding corn grits. Sometimes it's meat. It could be pork with the corn. And the baskets here, it's a very rare item these days because you don't hardly see any sifting baskets, especially made by the Creek Nation or Creek Tribe. Very few people make it.
Time to revive that. Well, that's great.
It's a Creek stick with ball, and it's a watercolor. And I have these in my house. They were both made by Tony Mitchell, the late Tony Mitchell, and he made both of these. And he gave me the ball to show that this is the traditional ball that the tribal towns use in ball game. That's we got the long buckskin string. It's all wrapped in buckskin, and they're tied. I try to show the tie features on there when they're made properly.
It's really got some nice detail, boy. And you can see the different textures so well too.
Yeah, the wood in my mind is supposed to look like wood. It's just, and that's the way it looks. When he made it, he polished it down real fine. He used glass to cut it, to shave it. He used broken glass, window pane. That's what they use. And of course, it's wrapped with buckskin, tied off, and that ball of a buckskin hide also.
It's really beautiful. What's
this
one called?
This is called New Moon Song. And the idea comes from the Cahokia Mounds from Illinois, the ancient Mississippians, and where now they have a museum and several mound sites on the property. And the large painting is a 40 by 32 original on canvas. And the story behind this one is this is the Monk's Mound at the Cahokia Mound site. And there was a house on top, and if you look real good, there's the 4 men standing outside, and I have these men kind of like a silhouette in the dark part. But the new moon has always been a symbol of renewal of each month, and the moon has always been used to cut hair or plant. And I was just trying to educate people that you use your lunar signals to do. It's good to do different things that you want to do, like cut hair, plant corn, make medicine. It's always been a renewal time, and it's always for the good.
Do you still have that original? Or
yes, I have the original. Yes, I still do. This one won first place at Cahokia last 2011. It got second place at Bartlesville Indian Summer, and third place at the Cherokee Art Market.
Wow!
All last year. And this one depicts a man and woman, she's laying down the law.
Yeah.
And she done told him once or twice about that. And as you see, he's hiding a bottle behind him and holding his arm up against her forceful appearance.
Yeah.
And he ripped his sleeve right
Oh,
there.
yeah, I hadn't know.
He's got the jug right here.
Right.
And she's just laying down the law and saying, you know, I don't want this around the house.
But what's the title again?
What did I tell you about this?
Yeah, what?
Tell you about that drinking.
Yeah. Is that a little, in the corner, a little
turtle
jug?
right here. Little turtle is watching
Yeah.
it all going on.
Yeah.
So, and people like that, I mean, they laugh, and it's just to break the monotony a lot of times of serious
Right.
artwork, and you know, you throw a little scenes in like that, and people can relate to it sometimes.
That's
you know?
right.
A lot of people go through it more than you think.
Humor is always good.
So I try to humor people about different things.
Right. Well, I guess.
You know, that whole thing is, you know, my alcoholism has always been a big issue in the Indian country, and it's just not just Indian people, it's everybody. And it's just, you know, it breaks up homes, and it hurts people. It's a negative drug, and it's too bad a lot of people are dependent on it, but I myself broke that cycle, and I don't want to go back to that lifestyle anymore. You know, it's a reminder of myself a lot of times. But you know, it's just, we have to live with each other every day. You know, we try to get along and encourage one another to be more positive in your life. And hope and pray for the best.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Jon, and thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
Thank you for your time too, and I'm glad to do it.